One of the reasons I found myself writing was because I knew that women's voices were, they were hushed or misconstrued, and oftentimes I didn't even see my reality in the books that I was reading. So I'm excited to see, 10 years in the writing game, and I'm even more excited to continue writing, diverse and authentic stories for women and the men that love them. Hi, I'm Nicole Williams, and I am the author of Tangled Web of True Love Tales. To celebrate the 10-year anniversary edition, I will be talking to some amazing professionals in their respective fields with the goal to get untangled. We will be discussing topics displayed in this fiction book and applying them to life. Conversation is key. And today I am excited about who is joining me. I am so excited about our special guest today. She is a licensed clinical social worker, therapist, and speaker with 14 years of experience. As the owner of KBT Counseling and Consulting, she specializes in helping the busy professional woman heal from challenges, which we will be talking about today. And these challenges are hindering many from excelling not only in their professional life, but especially in their personal life. So please welcome Kamilah Thomas to the conversation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And what we're doing is we're definitely celebrating 10 years of Tangled Web of True Love Tales. And this is a fiction book. But what I wanted to do is really focus on the topics in the book and bring them into a real life conversation. So I'm so excited to dig into this one. And what I wanted to focus on in the book was specifically this idea that there's kind of a stigma attached to the mental health world. And so with you being in the game so long and even growing now, I wanted to see when that word therapy is tossed out there, if you think about yourself before you were a therapist and after, what did you think about that word?
That's very interesting. Actually, growing up, mental health wasn't anything that was talked about in my household. Really anything that I remember hearing about in school or just on the news or media. So it really was just something that wasn't really too much spoken about. So I think when I got into undergraduate school, I took some psychology classes, and I really just liked learning about how the brain worked in different mental health diagnoses. So that's kind of what got me started in the field. But prior to getting my undergraduate degree and then later on my graduate degree, I really hadn't heard too many conversations about what therapy was in mental health.
Interesting. So now that you're in this space, there's so much to really cover. But what I want to focus on is, what are you finding being kind of the thing that brings people to you? If we have to look at this year specifically, what was it that you could say seems to be an issue?
So my private practice is geared towards African American women. So 99% of my clients are in that niche. The majority of the things that they come in for are definitely some symptoms of depression, anxiety, a lot of childhood trauma, and that could be any direct emotional, physical, sexual abuse, or even just being exposed to domestic violence within their parents' relationship, or just other different types of trauma during the childhood that was never discussed, that they never healed from. It was one of those things that happened and you just need to keep going. But what we know is that when things are unresolved, they will find itself to manifest in different ways in their adult life. So now they're starting to see the results of some of those things that we kind of tucked away, and we thought if we don't think about it, we don't talk about it, it'll go away, but unfortunately not. Other issues could be just challenges in the way that they communicate with other people, even expressing their emotions. And so sometimes that happens in childhood where they didn't have the space to be able to say, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling frustrated. It was, I really don't care what your feelings are, it's just do what I say and that's it.
Take care of whatever it is.
Correct. And so they're just having different challenges in relationships, navigating the corporate America, especially when it's with us. And so it's just a lot of different things.
Okay. I love what you do with your recent event where you really focus on this dialogue being had in regards to this label that is so often placed on individuals, particularly black women, and it's the strong black woman label, that stamp that gets on you. So if that is factored into the equation, if you consider yourself strong, or if that has been given to you, when would you know to even, seek help?
I think it shows up in different ways for different people. So I think even when they hear that term, strong black woman, or you're so strong, when you kind of cringe a little bit, and it's like, but I don't want to be strong. I don't want to have to keep dealing and carrying all of these life challenges and this burdens. I do it because I have to. I have to survive, because what other choice do I have? So that may be one indicator. If you realize that some of your stress management skills are not the best, if you're noticing any changes in your sleep, in your appetite, you're more irritable, you're starting to, maybe have kind of crying spells, low motivation, those may be some indications that something is going on.
Okay. And I like those concrete ideas, as opposed to people just kind of feeling like they're just out there by themselves going through whatever it is that they are going through. There are some indicators that could be a sign for, you might want to talk to somebody, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Now, with that being said, I know you mentioned a couple of things, but I wanted to specifically state what I know you work with: depression, anxiety, trauma, self-doubt, perfectionism. Who even thought that was something? And or stress. These are some of the things that, not just people in general, but women specifically can be dealing with. Now, from a professional standpoint, what are some, once they are already in your space and already getting the help that they need, or at a starting point, what are you noticing, or what should be first steps to getting better? What would you tell them to do right off the bat early on?
The best thing, I think, is to kind of work on implementing a consistent and unapologetic self-care plan.
Unapologetic, I like that word.
and stress management. And the reason why I say to almost start there, and again, everybody's different. If somebody's in crisis, we want to manage that crisis first. But the reason why I say that is because throughout life, even if we think about babies, everyone experiences some degree of stress, right? So even as babies, if I'm hot, if I'm cold, if I'm hungry, if I have this dirty diaper on my butt, right, that's stressful for them. So they cry out to say, come and help me, right? And then there's other things with school and work and just other type of situations that we experience in life. So if we can learn some really healthy and effective stress management skills, I just think that that's just a life skill. Okay. Because there's going to be some degree of stress, whether it's temporary, whether it's chronic, whether it's long term, just to be able to learn how to deal with that the best. Okay. And then with self-care, it's about how do we take care of ourselves in the midst of all of those things. Okay. Right? And so self-care is about us being really intentional about engaging in certain activities that help preserve our emotional, our mental health, and our own energy. So even being able to set healthy boundaries, telling people no, that is self-care. And so some people think about, well, if that means that I want my favorite chocolate chip, cupcake, or if I get my nails and my toes done, that's self-care. And it definitely can be, but it also is more in depth than that. Okay. And so I think if people can get really good plans for stress management and self-care plans, that can kind of create a really good foundation for them to be able to handle any other challenges.
Wonderful. So yes, some things can be more severe than others, but having a system is just the best thing that you can do once you have decided to go and get help. Now, we talked about what you would tell your different ladies that you work with, but what do you do to take care of yourself? Since you're implementing this idea, it's really important to know, how do you stay centered? I know you deal with a lot of different stories day in and day out. What is it that you have to do in order to deal with that?
So you know what, in full transparency and to be my authentic self, this past year, kind of stepping into full-time entrepreneurship, it has been a bit of a struggle. So now it's like, all right, Well, but it's also, are you practicing what you preach?
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
And so I say that because I know for sleep, for me, is very pertinent, right? And just in general for, our functioning. So I've had to actually kind of implement stop times for work. Because being a one-woman show, there's always something to be able to do. And there were times when I would stay up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have to get up and see clients or whatnot. And so for me, 10 o'clock generally it's just a hard stop time for me to stop working, so that way I can wind down and get the sleep that I need. Working out is something that I just personally enjoy. There have been times where it ebbs and flows, right? Well, I'm not always consistent, but that is one thing that I know that I can definitely tell a difference just kind of in my mood and my functioning that I do. Really having a good support system. So for me, having time with friends and family members, that girl time, just to be able to have a break, to eat some good food, have some good beverages, be in some good company is just something that I need just to kind of have a mental break. There's other things that I may do. I definitely limit what I'm exposing myself to. So for instance, for me, it's difficult to kind of watch the news, just any like violent things. I just try not to have that enter, my space. And then I think at this point, 14 years experience, I'm really good at compartmentalizing. So I'm not kind of taking work home. There was a time probably when I first graduated undergrad, and I, had this superwoman's cape, and I just felt like the world was waiting on Kamilah to graduate and come save everybody. And unfortunately, I had some really hard cases when I was working with juveniles where, I had some clients who got killed and just, some other things, and so that definitely took a toll on me. And so I learned then how to be able to balance my work life and my personal life so those things didn't bleed together.
And thanks for sharing that, because I guess from my standpoint, I always wondered about that, because I always loved that idea of people helping people, but also looking on the other side of, we also have to keep our professionals in mind who do deal with our issues and who do, have to stand strong for us as well. And it's just one of those perfect balances. Now, the last question, I hate that our conversation is coming to the end, but I want you to do some reflecting. If you know that the book actually has a range of different ages that we're dealing with as far as adults. The majority of the characters are the average of late 20s, let's just say that. So I'll specifically say 25. If you could look back and tell your 25-year-old something, I would like you to do that. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self in regards to life, love, and dreams? What comes to mind? I know it's so much, right? So many things to think about. So what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Honestly, the first thing I would say is like relax a little bit.
Yes.
Relax a little bit. And to be open to where life will take you. I'm a Virgo, and by nature we are, our traits are being perfectionists. And actually my name means the perfect one, so you can read all into that what you want. But I would think just kind of relax, trust yourself. Do not limit yourself for what you think your life can be.
That's a good one too.
Because where I am now in life, when I tell you I could have never imagined it, never.
Okay.
I'm a planner, and so I knew what I wanted, but this was something that, I just didn't see. So it's definitely been a faith walk. And to be able to push myself beyond what I thought was possible, and most importantly, fear. And I honestly just learned to push past fear like in the last year and a half, 2 years. And it has been scary, but it has been amazing and so rewarding.
Wonderful. And now here we go with that idea of sometimes when we feel can be a negative thing can kind of catapult us into spaces that we are ordained to be. So that is awesome. And I hate that our conversation has to come to a little end. I mean, I do have some good news because we do know that the conversation continues. And I just want to thank Kamilah for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. And we also want to thank you guys for joining as well. And stay tuned so you can figure out how to get in touch with both of us and also how to get your copy of Tangled Web of True Love Tales Anniversary Edition. So see you next time, and the conversation continues.
Bye.